Awesome. Heinz, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. It's so funny. You're one of the people I think I've genuinely connected with on LinkedIn, and now we've known each other for a few years.
Yeah, it's got to be close to 5 years now of our first introduction, and it started through pandemic, and I think it was like the online LinkedIn world where we actually
literally we had like a virtual beer or something.
100%. It was exactly that. Yeah, in the confinements of our office, having a virtual beer over Zoom.
It's funny because, now you've come to all the Pipestone gatherings, and I think we work in the energy industry, but I don't think we really step on each other's clients. Like, we're in the same world, but not really. And, yeah, we still we stay in touch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, we work adjacent, and definitely we're not service providers to each other, and we're not competitors, but I think we work really well adjacent, and we're great network, dot connectors, as I like to call it.
Oh, for sure. Well, literally, like, I think I was just telling you, a young kid from Colombia reached out, so I'll get you connected. And he said, "Hey, I'm from Colombia. I'm trying to get to Canada." We had a call real quick just to see his English is great. He goes, "I'm an engineer. I do turnaround stuff. I don't know." He goes, "Can you help pull me?" And the first thing, you were the first guy. I'm like, "Well, I'll just connect these guys. Can Heinz help? Can he not?" I don't know, but I know this is your world.
Yeah.
And you're the first guy I thought of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we even get going, I would love it if you would just tell us about yourself, where you grew up. Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so my name is Heinz Inabnit. Born or raised here in southern Alberta. I grew up on a small cattle ranch just outside of Waterton, between Pincher Creek and Waterton. The son and brother to a younger sister, and I have two. I'm a first-generation Canadian. Both my parents immigrated to Canada from Switzerland. So, in the early '70s. So grew up kind of that European family in the country of southern Alberta, in the windy country. And if you know the area, the wind blows there pretty well. So, I grew up just a farm kid, growing up in a cattle ranch, and my parents were very hardworking people, and I attest to where I am today, and the work ethic I have from honestly both my parents. And
amazing.
Learning English and starting a business. They ran a restaurant as well on the side. They ran a very successful restaurant in southern Alberta for about 35 years before they sold it off. And I seen true struggle as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneurial parents starting a business from scratch, and especially the restaurant business. If anybody knows the restaurant industry, it's the number one business to fail. And they did it really well, and they did it for 30 plus years, extremely successfully, and finally were able to hand off the torch, which I'm super happy for them. And now they can just retire and be full-time cattle ranchers and hobby enthusiasts. So that's where I grew up. Growing up in Pincher Creek, I was around the Shell Waterton gas plant, and I knew that the restaurant business wasn't for me at a very young age. So as and I think my father would attest that he didn't want that life for me as well. So I was always exploring different opportunities for career paths, and because the Shell Waterton gas plant was down there, obviously that was the big show in town, and that's anybody who made money was working down there. And I said, "Oh, that sounds like a good start for me," because
I'm interested in money.
Definitely the money was the driver. Everyone can say, "Oh, I was passionate about this." No, I wanted money, and not that we grew up without we always had what we needed, but I was always a kid who knew what secondhand sport gear looked like, and that trials and tribulations of working, struggling entrepreneurial parents. So I knew that I wanted money. So that was the driver. And so I got into because of my parents' restaurant. I was very fortunate that it was my parents' restaurant was the spot in town that everyone wanted to go to as well. It was a happening spot, so all the workers and people in town were always there. So I got to talk to people all the time, and I think I'm fortunate I got my gift for dealing with people.
You're not an introvert.
No, I'm not an introvert, and that's growing up in the service industry. You learn how to deal with all walks of life, and you learn how to deal with conflict, and people aren't happy with this, and the customer's always right, and so you learn how to deal with all kinds of situations. So it helped me, create a very good communication skills, and talking with people, and I got into talking with the clients that would come in there, and I got into instrumentation, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at math. I'm good at physics. I like the ideas of this stuff. And I did a student for a day. I did a tour at the facility, and I met some some great tradespeople out there right off the bat. And at the time, to get into SAIT, it was extremely hard. There was 60 spots to get into the technologist program at SAIT. And they had well over 300 to 400 applicants.
Holy shit! Okay.
Every year. So I knew getting in was going to be tough, and I wasn't an A student by any means.
Were you an okay student?
I'm an okay student. I was an 80s student, but I worked for every percent on those grades. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room, but I will work harder than anybody else in the room. So I would work hard to get my grades. So I knew I had to step up some other places. So, I showed the work ethic, because there was, it wasn't just grades that got you into the program. It was, you had to show aptitude. You had to write, a letter of what is instrumentation, and you had to have a letter of reference. And so I made sure I went the extra mile to, befriend the manager of the instrumentation program at Shell Washington,
Nice.
and he wrote me a very, very nice letter.
You're good at networking back
Good
in
at
those
networking
days.
at a young age, and he wrote me a very nice letter that helped, and I did the student for a day, and I did the tours of SAIT, and I made sure that I did every opportunity to showcase that I was dead interested in getting in, and I was fortunate, and I got into the program.
Nice.
And that's where my career started, into the oil and gas sector, and I did my summer student practicums at Shell down there as a summer student, and that was kind of my background, and started just in the trades, and started working in different places. I was fortunate. I liked to travel, having two parents that obviously were from Europe. I traveled a fair bit as a young age, because all my family and all my relatives still lived back in Europe. So my parents would send me back to Switzerland, even as an unaccompanied minor. I was probably one of those kids who took advantage of the unaccompanied minor program. I don't even know if that still exists, but
I don't know.
They would let you fly as a child by yourself, and I'd go spend my summers with my grandparents and things like that. So traveling was always something that was keen to my heart. So when I got into work, into the trades, I loved traveling. I mean, going to see new places, and getting paid to go see different places of the world was just the best thing for me. So it was a great transition into the start of my career as a young, hungry kid looking to make some money and improve himself in the trade. And I worked for a couple of different companies over the years, and got to travel around the United States a bit. I traveled, I think, like most, maybe the pipeline world, I got to see, all
Alberta and BC.
All of Alberta and BC, and some places were really nice and some places not so nice. I joke that, I don't want to ever eat a Boston pizza again in my life. I spent a period of my time living in a Holiday Inn Express, and
I bet.
And I, the Edson Holiday Inn Express, and I've eaten
and ate those little cinnamon buns in the morning.
100%, and I, the gas station hoagie sub, and I joke, that there was a portion of my life where I can't look at a Boston pizza menu anymore. So I joke about that, but it was a great character building portion of my life, and pizza I would never trade for anything. So made great friends and learned a lot during the way, and through my whole trial. Of starting at Shell, and it's funny, the journeyman that I worked underneath at Shell, my very first summer student, as a summer student, was Tim Stushnoff, and one of these mentors that stuck with me for the rest of my life. And
Awesome.
Funny enough, in 2010, I had kind of been working different jobs and getting experience, and I got a call from Tim, and he was working for a company called Sandcon Commissioning at the time, and he said, "Hey, we're going to be commissioning a facility up here, Devon Jackfish, and we need some instrumentation support on the project. Would you come up?" And I was like, "Oh man, that sounds like a great opportunity." And then he told me the money, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in hook, line, or sinker." I had been doing maintenance, and obviously I had never really done any project work, and especially the commissioning space, and the rates at the time were aggressively high, and I remember, I don't care what you ask me to do, literally I will sweep floors and clean toilets all day for this kind of money. So I was very eager to get up there, and it was an eye opener too, because I was still quite young in my career, and I I got on site as the young kid again, and I'm almost always the young kid on the project, right? And of course, I have lots to prove, and you know, I didn't know a lot, and I won't buffalo. I was definitely underqualified for the job, so I had to do a little fake it till you make it as we got rolling. But when I started off by saying that I will work harder than anybody to make sure I know, and I stand by the fact that, you know, I have a strong work ethic, and I just worked really, really hard, and I caught up to speed really quick. So far so that, you know, I got pushed up the ladder, and my career has been kind of a bit of that. It's like I will work hard, and I will climb ladders in roles and positions, and at a young age I was, you know, climbing the ladder within SanCon and running projects and running crews, and, you know, getting up to, you know, commissioning managers, project managers, to the point then, you know, I was a senior position within SanCon at a very young age, and running crews of you know, teams and people that were a lot older than me. And you know, with that you deal with a lot of scrutiny, and you know, you know, the oil patch in general, and especially, you know, getting into the midstream world. So I mean, the, you know, the pipeline crews and stuff like that, it gets a little backwoods, a little old boys club, right? Sure. And, you know, as a young kid, you have to prove yourself, and I was, you know, I learned really quickly, and I think probably my upbringing, that you have to, you know, stand up for yourself, and you have to rely on support, and where I became such a good or a strong advocate for mentorship is because I had great mentors.
Amazing.
And it, funny enough, I told you how I started with SanCon. Tim Stushnov still works for SanCon today, cool. And he's still a mentor I rely on, and even to the point that I was offered a partnership, and I'm one of the owners now of SanCon. So in 2020, they actually, you know, climbing from a low tech who just came in knowing nothing. 2020, I was brought in as an equity stake partner in the company, and I'm now one of three partners in the company, and I'm the only person to have come in. And so I thank, you know, guys like Tim and like my business partners Brian and Dennis for seeing something in me, and I think, you know, advocacy for mentorship is key, because I wouldn't be here without the mentors that I've had to get to this piece. And you know, as you know, you'll see if you know, follow me online, you know, I'm always promoting mental health and mentorship and those kind of pieces, because without mentorship, I personally wouldn't be where I am today. So I know firsthand the difference it can make in a person's life, and if you're willing to ask, and it's something as simple as, you know, hey, could we go for coffee? Do you mind, you know, giving me a piece of advice? You know, just, you know, I've seen people on LinkedIn and being okay just to be like, hey, like, you're doing a great job at what you do. You're an expert, and it's one thing I really admire about yourself is that your open dialogue, your open communication, you know, on mental health, and you know, supporting people, you know, find jobs. You know, we know that, you know, one of the biggest things that hurts people's mental health is being unemployed, lack of financial resourcing, and I went through it myself, a piece of that, and you know, being able to be a mentor and to reach out to people is a huge thing, and I'm not sure, you know, I'm sure people ask you all the time, but like, reaching out to people and asking, hey, can we go for coffee? Can I pick your brain on something? And it can be something as simple as that. It's not like you have to take somebody under your wing, and, you know, people, you know, misconceive like mentorship is like, oh, you have to put hours of your week into supporting someone. It could be somewhat easy as feeling comfortable sending you a text message, hey, Dave, I need to run something by you. Hey, can I ask you a question? How would you deal with this?
For sure.
And mentorship starts small with things like that. It's listening, you know, listening, showing up. And it's amazing how mentorship in those kind of small little tokens can boost mental health, can, you know, create a support network amongst yourself, you know, that dot connecting we talked about earlier. For sure. And most people think about mentoring as kind of a formal structured thing, and we're like, I guarantee you the mentors you look up to and are helping you do not know the answers. Guaranteed. 100%. Can they give you some guidance and encouraging support? Absolutely. Some people do it naturally. Like, one of the reasons I'm a huge advocate of mentorship is not just because I've had so much support in my life. It's because I know as a younger person, it's hard to advocate for yourself. Really hard to speak up. Really hard to raise your hand and go, this isn't right, or something.
if you have a mentor in whatever capacity, being willing to put their arm around you a little bit and help you along, oh my God, it can change the trajectory of your professional and your personal life. I'm convinced of it.
100%.
Yeah.
And you hit something on the head. It doesn't have to be formal, because I would agree with you. I would even say probably the people who I would say are some of the biggest mentors in my life don't know that they were a mentor in my life, right?
Yes, agreed. Agreed.
It's something as simple as, the smallest conversations that can have the biggest input. And you kind of hit on the head, is like, I would tell people, people listening, right, is that don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions, and don't be afraid to ask for advice. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to give it. So, don't be scared. Break down that barrier of it's okay to ask.
Yeah, I know. It's funny you mentioned about they didn't know, because I've said that. I remember about a month ago, I was pondering that exact same thing. Try to encourage mentorship, whether it's a young person looking for help, don't be afraid to ask, or an older person, say, you know what? Yeah, great. You're still in the 5-10 year age of your career, so you feel like you're just getting going. You might not feel you have something to offer it, but I'm telling you, you've actually tread down a trail to try to break the path for some people behind you. So yeah, encourage them. It's sometimes the coffee. Please do that. And I said in my own life, I've had so much help, and I know they didn't know that I viewed them in that way. So, and unfortunately some of them have now passed away, but fast forward, I thought, you know what, I'm going to tell these people, just thank you. I know you didn't know what you were doing for me, but like when I need you to take me for the coffee or pay for lunch or whatever, you did that, and it meant a lot to me, so thank you for doing that. So I've encouraged other people to do the same. Yeah, you know that guy who helped you like 20 years ago when you were just a kid and get going, but you think you cross his mind every now and again? Why don't you phone him and check up on him and just say, hey, just so you know, I was thinking about you, I really appreciate everything you did for me, thank you. And I've had the gift now of doing that for other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a powerful tool, like gratitude is a powerful tool. We talk about it, because, being an advocate of mental health and like transitioning into like how mentorship and mental health are like seamless into how it works in our company, and something that I really like to do is look at breaking down this barrier of communication. And gratitude is the first thing, is saying thank you for taking the time, and thanking the team for the work that they're doing. And we're all pumping out a pile of work right now. We're in a swing for us in the commissioning space right now, so we're seeing a positive uptick. But at the same time, it's also stressful. It's a different stress. There's a stress of being looking for work, and then there's a stress of
trying to perform
once you have the work. So saying thanks to the team. So.
Yeah, how have you at SanCon? How have you bridged the gap between being good supportive of mental health awareness at the company, trying to foster that culture, and not be perceived as some companies that, it's just a checkbox? Because I've had that feedback from some of the guys in the hands. They see these wellness emails, they see all this stuff, but they look and go, well, in the field, I don't see that and feel that, so we're not necessarily walking what we talk. And how do you bridge that gap to show you're sincere and genuine when you try to advocate these messages?
Yeah, it's so true. And unfortunately, in the corporate world, there's a lot of check boxes being clicked in all different categories, and mental health is definitely one that gets a checkbox in a lot of organizations. Personally, for me, as somebody who truly struggled with mental health, I went through my own journey, and I'll share my journey. And becoming an owner was the greatest thing that happened to my life, but it was also one of the toughest things that happened in my life, because at the time that I became a partner in the company, we hit the pandemic, and so probably the worst time financially to make a big investment is was COVID, and financial struggles led and they played strains, and it's not the only reason, but that played a big piece into my relationship, into my my marital life, which then caused a separation, which then spiraled into a bit of alcoholism, and then that sped into substance abuse, and I went through the the highs and lows that pretty much you could write a book on that of, you know, it's more common than you think. And, you know, I went through addiction, and I went through a piece where, you know, I hit rock bottom myself personally, to the point where, you know, two of my closest friends held you know, an intervention and came to my house and said, you need to change your life or you're going to end up dead. And it was an eye opener. I have two young children, and, you know, I was putting things, you know, not putting them first, and not putting my, you know, my family first, and I wasn't doing a lot of things. And it was a real eye opener for my two friends to step in and really pull me back. And I'll never forget the moment that they came, and I will be ever in their debt for, you know, them coming to my house, because it was hard. These are two people who are my best friends, who actually still work for Sancon. So not only are they my friends, but they were employees. So that, you know, in a way, you know, calling me on my shit is, you know, harder, because it's also your boss, it's your friend, and it was a real, you know, coming to Jesus moment for me. And you know, at the time, you know, like I lost friends. You know, you feel alone, and it was a tough time. And you know, at the time you think, I'm never going to come back from this, right? And you go through, you know, the programs, and you try to get sober. And I will say that, you know, as Canadians, we're so fortunate for the amount of support systems that are out there. And it was eye-opening for me that, you know, as hard, and it was the hardest thing I ever did, was to come clean and tell my business partners, tell my family, you know, tell, you know, the people in my life, really tell everybody, you know, that, you know, I admitting to the fact that I had a problem. I had addictions. I was, you know, I was not a good person, right, at the time, and not because that, you know, I think I'm a bad person, but, you know, I created a bad person to protect myself, because, you know, and I went through a healing journey. I went through, you know, therapy, and I went through addiction programs, and it's amazing how you, like, once you start to ask for help, you can rationalize, and you understand why you did the things you do, and so, you know, I went through it, and you know, 2 years, almost 2 years now, and, you know, on an amazing path of healing. And so when, you know, you talk about companies who checkbox, it's not a checkbox for me, because I lived it through and through. I was the guy, and as a guy who hit bottom and has able to, you know, rise up, you know, it's comfort for me to tell people that, you know what, you might be in a dark spot right now, but I can tell you personally, because I was there, it gets better. It gets so much better. And asking for help is step one. And if you can't ask for help yourself, you know, having people that are willing to step up and, you know, ask for help for you, like, you know, like my two friends did, you know, that, you know, people see people struggling all the time, and that's where, like, you know, I'm trying to break down the barrier, especially about, you know, young guys my age, and you know what, you know, as a young guy in the oil and gas business, I know people struggle with the same things I was dealing with. I still see them today. I still see it. I see people in the industry, you know, in the same struggle that I was in, and you know, trying to break down the barrier that, you know, it's okay. It's not a perceived weakness to ask for help. And, you know, we all struggle for different reasons, and there's no right or wrong to it. But it's okay if you want to change and you want the help, ask for it. And if you see someone struggling, you know, like myself was, you know, step up and help somebody, because you'd be surprised if you can actually truly save their life. Which is it's a powerful thing. So, you know, back to the main question, why it's not a checkbox for me is because I believe in it, and it saved me. It saved my life, and it saved my family, and it's made me a better parent today. I have a great relationship with their mother. And, you know, I don't probably fit in the norm of a separated family, where we have an extremely healthy co-parenting relationship, and I know the difference it can make. And so how I lead is I lead by example. So I lead from the top. And so as a company, you know, company value, it is something that I promote on a weekly basis. You know, Mondays are for mental health. I will put out a post to the public on why mental health is important. And I will send out messages to the staff, and I'll send private messages to the staff on why I believe mental health is important. Obviously, the holiday season is great, but it's also one of the toughest times of the year. I personally sent a message to all our staff, stating that there's resources out there. This is not a nice time for everybody. If you need help, here's a resource library of support things that are out there. My door is always open to staff or anybody. I'm an open book with that, because I truly know how someone who is willing to listen can make a difference. So breaking down that barrier is actually an important piece to me. It's not something that I just believe in from a corporate value. It's actually ingrained in me. So,
but I appreciate you sharing this, because I see your post on LinkedIn, and I did thank you for sharing the story, because I didn't know that story. But I can see through the camera that you're very sincere and very authentic, and I think that's what people buy into, because they don't buy into the keynote speaker always. They don't buy into, again, the wellness emails weekly, because it's just, do they mean it? Is it a checkbox? If you're saying it, if you can look me in the eyes, tell me your story, and say, this is why I believe it, people will buy into that and they will respond to it. So I would love it nothing more than if on your LinkedIn messages, when you share those mental health posts, or even for this talk today, that someone sees you and go, Heinz, I don't know that guy, but maybe I'm okay, but I'm not doing great, and send you a message, because you're a safe place. That's what my hope is for you.
100%, absolutely, and that's what we want. That's what we're trying to create. Is I want to tear down the boundary that it's perceived weakness to open the conversation on mental health. The more I talk about it, especially the more I talk about it to males, it's amazing how many people struggle and don't want to talk about it. And it's amazing to me. I know I go to therapy. I still go to therapy today, because I find it extremely healthy, just from a mental upkeep. Never mind, I'm not struggling with something particular right now, but it's just a great mental upkeep. It's a good soundboard. And it, creating this, tearing down the boundary that we can talk about our mental health. It's okay to not be okay, right? And not every day is going to be a great day. And absolutely, that is the idea, is that create conversation around it. People can message me. I want people to have these own conversations with their own family. I'm trying to create a healthy environment in my own home for my children, that it's okay to talk about things that are uncomfortable. It's something that I want to break down for the generations that are coming, and our current generations, that it's okay to talk about things and to normalize mental health and understand how important it is. So.
But I would say, based on even your age, Heinz, for me, you're such a great age to be giving this message, because you are into your career now, but you're still what I would say is a younger guy. So people probably could relate to you a little bit more readily because of your age. And if you're making these conversations okay, I'm hoping it's just, I say, be the norm. I'm hoping it's a slow build, making this conversation comfortable. I've talked to a bunch of people about this already, but even this past summer when we had meetings at camp, a guy, he was trying to get sober, and we got to camp, he goes, well, there's no meetings here. Can you help get meetings? So we got some meetings together about kind of AA and NA format, because that's kind of was, I don't want to say the predominant issue, but it's an issue that's very common in our industry that people struggle with. But I'm telling you, Heinz, we got about 2 or 3 meetings into this thing, as a few more people start showing up, that we realized, so this is an issue, but this is not what brought people here today. What brought people here today was they need a safe place to talk to other pipeliners. Not a 1-800 number, not a confidential. They need to talk to other pipeliners in a safe place, confidential, private room. That, guess what? Right now my marriage is breaking up at home. So I'm here working, just trying to make sure the bills get paid, and my marriage is falling apart. Or we're basically going broke. Yeah. I'm here working, thank God, but going broke. I'm just scrambling. I'm bored. Had those conversations, we talked about. Unfortunately, some people are still, these are guys my age, still dealing with physical and sexual abuse as children.
Absolutely. And
they're still, so that started to come back, and I can't imagine many meetings where we didn't leave in tears, because it was such a safe place. And there's such a, right below the surface, there's this issue in our industry, and how do we get it out there other than doing what you're doing, which is talk about it? And it seems like it's pretty pretty at the surface just to throw these conversations out there, but I believe truly they're making a difference.
No, it makes a huge difference, and they're so powerful. And like you said, when you're in those kind of rooms with people when they're sharing, and I've been fortunate to be in, I've been, obviously through my professional career, I've also been doing, business mentorship and personal mentorship in growth. And I do, I have a business coach, and I have, a personal coach just on, dealing with, emotion, and I'm an emotional guy, right? And how does that transition into business, and so the different things, and I go to some sessions from time to time and with other business owners, and it's really powerful when people are honest and true and sincere, and you talk about struggle. And it always, in a circle, it always comes down to some level of emotional struggle, whether it's exactly a marriage that's breaking up, financially, are we going to make payroll this week? Are we in litigations? There's always different things, and it can be, it's like I said, it starts with like something simple as calling it an AA meeting or something like that, and how it transitions into a support group of different things, and even in a business mentorship circle, it's amazing when people are sincere and true, and people want to be. You're leaving into you're crying, you're breaking up when people are honest and true. It's very heartwarming, and it only takes one person.
I was going to say, it takes that one guy.
It takes one guy. It takes one guy to break the floor and break that ice, and people, it's like, okay, this is okay. It's okay. This is a safe space, and that's really what drives me, is to like be a guy who's willing to go out there and break the ice, because it'll create more people that are see it. If one person sees the video and they say, it's okay, and he has a conversation with somebody else, that's all that was meant to be, right? And you're right. I do one take. Everyone jokes to me like, how many takes did it take you to make those videos? I do one take. I only do ever one take of a video, and because I don't need it to be polished. I don't need it to be perfect. I don't need it to be scripted. I might fumble and flaw and talk in a circle, but it's just supposed to be a raw video that's meant for me from the heart, and so it's not a scripted service. And that's a big piece. Like I said, these perfect bulletins that are sent out from a corporate newsletter, and keynote speaker style things, and obviously keynotes get good at speaking, and I get better at making videos, but my rule is one take.
So I've told this to other people. I said, so I don't have a rule, but I try to do it one, unless I really flub it bad, it's the second take. But I said the reason I started doing one take is because if I'm talking, I want my sincerity to come through that camera. And if it does get too polished, I'm always afraid that it'll just become a canned thing, and I don't want that. I want people to see me through the camera. And it's funny now because I look back at some of these videos. After that first take, I look at it, and literally I'll have a batch of hair going up this way. Exactly. And I'm like, post.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think I like that. Honestly, I like that. And that's what I like about your videos, and I think that's where we're very similar in what we're putting out there. Is like, I want pure content. I'm just a regular guy, and I'm nobody special. So anybody can do this, because if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I'm just a regular guy. Right?
No, I believe that too. I had a good conversation with a guy at work yesterday, and we'll be sitting down with him at some point. He started a group called Men's League. And his idea is to create a safe space for men. It's like a community. He's trying to build a little organization business around it, and it's doing really well. So I was telling him about the camp thing.
I found Men's League. Honestly, that when I was digging for resources when I was hurting, it's funny you draw the name. That's where I ended up going to for therapy, because honestly, it's therapy for men by men.
So you talk about people who care, like sincerely cares. People. Fabian, he's one of those guys. He really gives a shit about people and guys. So I was talking to him just yesterday, because we're planning to sit down here at some point, and I told him the story I just told you about. We're doing these things in camp, and it was great. And I said, so say we did 20-something meetings over the summer, and I said about 75% of the time there's at least one or two women there as well. And again, safe space, no name, all privacy. And he says, you know what, I've been thinking about that. He goes, Men's League's not set up for that. But he goes, my grand vision is to have a one for women as well, and also one for youth. That's his grand vision he is trying to create. But you want to talk about a person who has a heart for people it's that guy. So if you ever have a chance, like I said, I would love to connect you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love
over
to
a
connect you.
coffee and just sit with him in person. Like he literally came down and sat with me yesterday and just tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, Davey, sorry I missed we're supposed to connect. It's just one of those things. I'm like, oh, Fabian, it's no problem, man. And it just led to an amazing impromptu conversation because that's the guy.
That's so funny, and that makes it, it's funny how much of a small world it is, because I didn't know that before coming into this conversation. And when I was struggling and I was going through my rebound, is like I wanted some resources that were obviously for men. Obviously, I was really focused on I want something that's geared and tailored towards men, and that's literally what I found is that their site. And it was huge for me. It was a major part of my healing journey. So that's funny how small of a world that is.
For sure. So I want to get Fabian on here, and he's going to sit down with me, basically to spread this message out there, because there's resources out there. Getting back to the camp thing, we always had little QR codes, whether you work for Murphy or Solaris. There's great free, accessible, confidential resources for both companies. It's amazing. Scan the QR code. They're accessible. They don't cost money, whether it's financial planning, counseling, therapy, just advice. Like it's legal. It's amazing. Both companies. And I brought these up to the people. I said, hey, just for transparency disclosure, like part of what you're here, like your union side, non-union side, these resources free, don't cost any money. And it's an interesting conversation that resulted was, so I started hearing that, they're not that they're not comfortable, but that's not, that they wouldn't pick up the phone and phone 1-800 and say, yeah, I'm having a shitty day.
No.
They just will not do that. And I'm like, okay, so I feel like I should pass this information along to our wellness person, because for some reason, right or wrong, human nature, whatever, guys aren't comfortable. They said what they're comfortable with, and it's so vulnerable and so intimate, and as painful it is to sit in a room, bare your soul, they're more comfortable doing that than phoning 1-800 number. So I'm telling this to Fabian. I'm like, Fabian, we have got to get this going. Like you have a heart for it. You have a good message. How do you get this out there? And he's the same as everyone else. He's like, I love it. I want to make it happen, but I'm the same as everyone else. You got a wife, got a kid, I got a full-time job. I'm just giving. I'm traveling all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just.
I feel you.
You just do your best. You do all you can do to get the message out there. But yeah, very, very special guy. If you never spent a lot of time with him, definitely try to get connected.
Awesome, fantastic. Yeah. No, and that's it. And then I think that's the message: is everyone's trying, everyone's out there, everyone's hustling. As I put it there, you got a family, you're balancing, like myself, balancing work life, is a tough one, and if you got kids and that piece, firsthand how busy it is. I got two young kids, and I'll tell you what, just that alone is a full-time job for a lot of people, right? And so I can support anybody who's struggling. Where do you find the time? How do you make it happen?
Yeah.
How do you go the extra mile?
Yeah. I know this is a funny question, maybe a little bit, because you are so busy with work right now, but I get approached a lot by people who aren't working. So the area I work in is the larger pipeline construction project space. That's where I roll around. Well, between TMEP and Coastal GasLink and all the NGTL loops and all these different programs finishing at the same time, it's spilled a lot of pipeliners onto the street. So there's a lot of people who are now feel connected to a part of this kind of energy community, and they're just all of a sudden they're looking around going, holy shit, there's no work, and they don't have the broad network to find more work, so they're struggling. So I know you guys are a little bit busier these days. Can you share some words of encouragement with these people, how to get them supported before we pick up again?
It's interesting, and it's such a weird, the ebbs and flows of how the work cycles work, and as a company who was I think struggling while all the pipeline guys are busy, we're obviously as a commissioning and startup company, we're the end piece, right? So we're always busy. We're not busy when everyone else is busy, and then we're busy when everybody is busy. So or we're busy when everyone's not busy. Sorry, and I would say, I would say, depending on the skill sets that people have, my friends over at SharePoint, I think you know Martin Socha.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the guys
for sure.
at SharePoint there, yeah.
I was trying to drag Martin up with me for a visit a couple years ago.
Or Greg Epp,
Yeah.
another guy. You know, they're great proponents of the trades right now,
Absolutely.
and I would say that right now we still are in. It's getting better, but we're still in a massive trade shortage. And not that people need to change careers, but I mean, if you're truly struggling right now, there is, you know, a massive need for instrumentation technologists, and as an instrument guy, I'm going to plug it because I think it's the best trade. But no, that's just me joking around. But you know, instrumentation, electricians, millwrights, power engineers. You know, most of those have like a technology program at SAIT, NATE. It's a 2-year tech program. The apprenticeship program is strong right now. We're hurting for good tradespeople, and people who come from industry. Like you know, you come as a pipeliner, you know what you're doing. People think it's, you know, too late in life to change trades. It's not. It's not too late to change careers if you want to. You know, if you have an aptitude for, you know, electronics and you want to be, you know, an instrumentation technologist, or you're strong electrical background, you understand, you know, electrical. Get into the trade. You're a millwright guy. You know, you're a welder. You know, welders, millwrights, they go right hand in hand when they transition. Most millwrights actually get a welding ticket. So you know, like, I would say that, you know, there's an opportunity right now to transition into a trade very quickly. There's a lot of companies that are indenturing tradesmen left, right, and center because we don't have enough tradespeople, and there is still that, you know, that generation that's retiring, and that knowledge of power transfer. You know, that transitioning the torch essentially
For sure.
is happening right now. So the opportunity to get into a trade is strong. So I would say, you know, the project world, maybe not the pipeline world, but the project space, especially with energy transition, and you know, as an energy company ourselves, like we're an oil and gas company, we've been really pushing hard on the energy transition space, and whether that's biofuels or hydrogen, you know, power, all the different types of power generation projects that are out there, carbon capture. They're all using the same technology at the end of the day as oil and gas. You know, the jewelry is the same, electrical is the same. You know, a transmitter's a transmitter, transformer's a transformer. It's, you know, still using the same MCCs.
Yeah.
So, you know, even though, you know, this perception of, you know, that's oil and gas, that's energy transition, it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah,
It's the
for
same.
sure.
So we've been very successful as an organization in transitioning focus on these projects, and they're spending a lot of money on it. I mean, we're seeing just as big of projects in the energy transition space as we used to see back for, you know, traditional SAGD facilities here. So, you know, follow the money, and I would say, you know, the trades getting into, you know, different. If you have a project management perspective, you know, like there's a lot of project managers and engineers that come from the pipeline world. All those skills transition into the project space. So it doesn't have to be necessarily pipeline. There's a pile of people hurting to hire, and I would say, you know, be receptive to some of the different projects that are out there, and it doesn't have to be, you know, a traditional oil and gas pipeline, because there's a lot of work out there in the additional, you know, technology spaces.
Oh, for sure. Even like construction space. That's where I'm encouraging a
Yes,
lot of
absolutely.
laborers, operators, and some other trades guys. I said, right now, the commercial and residential construction space out in Alberta, she's flying.
Oh, it's
flying.
crazy.
I said, it might not be the same money per se, but I said, it's a great career. It'll keep you busy. You're close to home. I said, check it out. I've talked to more than a few people who are into their kind of mid-40s, and they feel like they're just lost because they're like, they should be flying, because we should be flying. I should be farther in my career and get my house paid and all. But I feel like I'm just drowning and stuff. It's like, you know, it's never too late, man. Hang in, read some positive posts, listen to Gary Vee. At your age, it's a mindset. I said, just keep going.
Well, and when it comes to the bills, and like I feel that, I think like every Canadian feels that right now. I mean, interest rates, inflation. There's absolutely nobody in Canada right now who's not feeling that. So, you know, my message would be, you're not alone. Play it smart. It's probably not the best time to buy new toys and trucks.
For sure.
With the, you know, if you're coming up for a mortgage renewal, and you're gonna have to go from your 2% to a 5% mortgage. Those are tough financial bullets to bite, and that is, you know, a majority of Canadians who are going to be fighting that.
For sure.
So yeah, keep your chin up. But yeah, I would agree with you. That's a mindset. You know, I need to be where I am. I mean, I think this is a blip. I think we're going to see positivity, and you know, I'm a positive guy, so like I'll always find glass half full, you know. So, you know, like I said, yeah, get into, you know, good one is housing. I would say, like, also, like, you know, you see things like, you know, all the Amazon warehouses that are being built, and you know, they need just as many operators and people to work in those places, and lots of those places have good programs, you know, employment programs and things like that. So maybe being home every night's not the worst thing either. I don't know either. So depending on where people are living in their life. But
awesome. Well, Heinz, I would really hope you'd consider sitting down with me in the new year and maybe carry on this conversation.
Absolutely, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.